Give me my cut. Janelle Ellis looked up from her phone, barely giving him a second glance. She scoffed, shaking her head. Your cut? What exactly did you do to earn it? Andre Houston stood in the doorway, his fists clenched, his jaw tight. His eyes burned with frustration, with something darker. Something dangerous. I held you down. Protected you, he said, his voice low, simmering with rage. You wouldn't be making this money if it wasn't for me. Janelle didn't flinch. She didn't back down. She never did. I was making money before you, she shot back, her voice sharp, defiant. And I'll be making money after you. That was the last thing Janelle Ellis ever said. She had it all: beauty, success, independence. A woman who built herself from the ground up, who refused to be controlled. But in the end, that independence cost her everything. Because love, when twisted by envy, curdles into resentment. And resentment, when left unchecked, turns into something far worse. Greed. Hatred. Murder. Janelle thought she was arguing with her boyfriend. She didn't realize she was standing face to face with her executioner. What happens when one person in a relationship rises while the other stays stagnant? When admiration turns to bitterness? When love becomes nothing more than a contract of ownership? This is the tragic case of Janelle Ellis, a woman who built an empire, only to be destroyed by the man who claimed to love her. Before we dive into the chilling details of this case, make sure to like this video and subscribe. Where love, lies, and betrayal turn deadly, Janelle Ellis wasn't just another pretty face on the internet. She was a brand, a movement, a self-made force of nature who knew exactly how to work the game and win. At just 24 years old, she had already amassed a loyal following as a bold, unapologetic social media influencer and a rising OnlyFans model. Every photo she posted, every video she dropped, every stream she ran, brought her closer to financial freedom. And the numbers proved it. Janelle was pulling in nearly $7,000 a month, just from her online content alone. But behind the glamour, behind the flawless selfies and sponsored posts, was a woman who had come from struggle. Raised in a cramped apartment on the west side of Atlanta, Janelle knew what it felt like to go without. The lights cut off. Eviction notices taped to the front door. A single mother doing everything she could, but it was never enough. Janelle promised herself one thing: she would never depend on anyone. Especially not a man. So she built herself from the ground up. She turned pain into power and poverty into profit. She used her looks, but more than that, she used her hustle. She knew how to brand herself, how to sell fantasy, how to make people believe in her dream. And they did. With luxury shopping trips, vacations to Miami, designer purses, and thousands sitting in her account every month, Janelle had finally made it. But success has a way of attracting the wrong kind of people. And that's exactly what happened the night she met Andre Houston. Andre was 28, a smooth-talking, street-smart charmer with zero stability and a long list of failed schemes. He didn't have a steady job. What he had was charm, game, and just enough swag to make you look twice. He wasn't interested in hard work, he was interested in shortcuts. And when he saw Janelle across the room at a lounge in Midtown, to him, she wasn't a woman. She was an opportunity. She was celebrating another major milestone, another month racking in over $6,000 from her OnlyFans. Andre spotted her in a tight red dress, surrounded by friends, laughing like someone who had nothing to prove. He walked over, confident, smooth. "You the type that make men forget every other woman in the room," he said, flashing that practiced smile. Janelle rolled her eyes. She'd heard it all before. But Andre had something, an edge. And more than that, he seemed genuinely curious about her business. Not just her body. He asked about how she built her platform, how she stayed consistent, what her goals were. And for a moment, she thought, maybe he's different. They started dating soon after. It was fast, intense. Andre played the role perfectly, the doting boyfriend hyping her up from behind the scenes, calling her his queen, saying things like, "We're building an empire together." But the truth was, Andre wasn't building anything. He was watching. Watching the money she made. Watching the way men sent her tips. Watching her cash in while he sat with barely $100 in his account. He started making offhand comments. Jokes that weren't really jokes. "Damn, you just made what I make in 3 months," he'd say. Or, "You wouldn't be making this much if I wasn't holding you down." To her audience, they looked like couple goals. They posted matching outfits, flirty TikToks, date night vlogs. But in private, cracks were forming. Friends noticed at first, how Andre's smile didn't quite reach his eyes when Janelle talked about her wins. How he got quiet whenever money came up. How he hated being in the background while she shined. Janelle brushed it off. "He just needs time to find his thing," she'd say. Not every man's intimidated by a strong woman. But Andre wasn't just intimidated. He was simmering. He didn't just want to be with Janelle, he wanted to be Janelle. As Janelle's success climbed higher, something inside Andre started to curdle. At first, it was subtle, a twinge of discomfort when she'd casually mention how much she made from a live stream, or how another subscriber had dropped a $500 tip, just for looking fine. But soon, that discomfort grew teeth. Andre was broke, and not in the poetic, struggling artist kind of way. He was just, broke. Unemployed. No real hustle. No vision beyond vague dreams of getting money somehow. Meanwhile, Janelle was stacking thousands every month, nearly $7,000, just from her content alone. And she didn't need to clock in anywhere. No boss. No schedule. Just her, a ring light, and the kind of confidence most people spend a lifetime trying to fake. That it ate at him. Andre came from a place where men were supposed to lead, provide, protect. He told himself that over and over again. That he was supposed to be the one in charge, the one making moves. But here he was, sleeping in a bed she paid for, eating food she bought, riding in a car that was registered in her name. That he started making little comments, nothing too serious, just things like, "We a team, right? I mean, if you eatin', I should be too." Janelle would roll her eyes and laugh, brushing it off. "Boy, stop. What team? I'm the whole starting lineup." But Andre wasn't playing. He started saying it more. "You wouldn't have that platform if it wasn't for me. I keep these dudes in line. I keep you safe. I keep you grounded. You owe me." Janelle wasn't one to back down. She was too sharp, too proud, too determined. "I was making money before you," she told him one night, her voice sharp as glass, "and I'll be making money after you. Don't get it twisted." That was the moment everything shifted. The smile Andre used to fake for Instagram started to disappear. The compliments dried up. The sweet texts turned cold. He stopped posting her. Stopped hyping her. Started condemning her instead, calling her too fast, too showy, saying she was selling herself and embarrassing him. All of a sudden, the man who once bragged about being with a baddie was now disgusted by what made her successful. That he told himself he was losing her. And worse, he told himself she owed him something. A cut. A payout. Something to show for the time he'd spent standing behind her while she built her empire. But Janelle didn't owe anybody anything. That made Andre furious. That he started pulling away. No more late-night talks. No more good-morning kisses. Just silence and glares. He'd sit on the couch while she filmed content in the next room, eyes burning holes through the wall. Watching. Measuring. Waiting. By then, he wasn't her partner anymore. He was a liability. And somewhere deep in that silence, Andre made a decision. If he couldn't share her success, he'd make sure she couldn't enjoy it either. It was a rainy Thursday night. The rain tapped against the window, soft and steady, as Janelle ended her live stream with a bright, satisfied smile. Another night, another bag secured, $1, 200 in tips alone. It never stopped amazing her how easy it was now. The grind had paid off. The struggle was over. She leaned back in her chair, stretching, scrolling through the flood of comments and fire emojis from her subscribers. She felt untouchable. Andre, sitting in the darkened corner of the room, felt the exact opposite. He had been watching. Watching her laugh, watching her glow, watching the money pour in like water while he sat there with pockets full of dust. His phone screen showed the same bleak truth, $43. 17 in his bank account. Not even enough for gas. Meanwhile, Janelle was over there celebrating, another 1,000 rolling in like it was nothing. Like she didn't even need to think about it. Like it wasn't a big deal. Like he wasn't a big deal. His fingers curled into a fist. It wasn't supposed to be like this. He was supposed to be the man in this relationship. He was supposed to be the one calling the shots. But Janelle? She didn't need him. Not for money. Not for protection. Not for anything. And that's what made him snap. She barely had time to react when he stepped in front of her, his body blocking the hallway, his face twisted with something dark and ugly. "Run me my cut," he said, his voice low, controlled. Janelle barely glanced up from her phone. "What cut?" she scoffed, rolling her eyes. "You haven't earned a damn thing." His jaw tightened. "We're a team, remember, you wouldn't be anything without me." She let out a sharp laugh, shaking her head. "What exactly did you do, Andre?" "Huh? You don't bring nothing to this table except complaints. You don't make money. You don't hustle. You just sit there, mad at the world 'cause I made something of myself." Andre's breathing turned ragged, his hands shaking at his sides. She didn't get it. She never got it. All this, he gestured wildly around them, at the apartment, the lights, the luxury dripping from every corner, this is because of me. I held you down. I kept you safe. And now you actin' like you too good for me. Janelle stood up, her patience gone. "Kept me safe from what?" she snapped. "The only danger in my life is standing right in front of me." The words cut deeper than she knew. Andre saw red. His hand moved before he even realized what he was doing, fingers closing around the cold metal tucked in his waistband. The weight of it, the power of it, felt too good in his palm. Janelle's eyes flickered down, her confidence faltering for the first time. "Andre," she said, her voice lower now, slower, like she was realizing, really realizing, what kind of man she had let into her world. "You don't want to do this." But it was too late. Boom. The first shot punched into her chest, knocking her back against the wall. Her breath hitched, her body betraying her as she crumpled to the floor, hands shaking as they pressed against the wound. Blood spilled through her fingers, pooling onto the marble floor she had worked so hard to afford. Boom. The second shot tore through her stomach, white-hot pain splitting her in half. A whimper slipped past her lips, but she refused to scream. She wouldn't give him that. Andre took a slow step forward, watching the life drain from her, and for the first time, he felt something close to satisfaction. Boom. The third shot. This one wasn't necessary. This one was just to be sure. And then, silence. The rain kept falling outside, washing over the city like it had no idea what had just happened. Like it didn't matter that a life had just been stolen. Andre stood over her, breathing hard, the gun still warm in his hand. He looked down at her, at the woman who had once been everything to him. The woman he claimed to love. But just as quickly, the panic set in. He didn't have time to think about the life he'd just taken, and all he could think was, get out. Get away. Now that he knew exactly what he had to do, his first instinct was to take the money. He didn't know why he thought it would matter, but in his mind, it did. Janelle had money. She had everything. And now, he needed to make sure he didn't walk away empty-handed. He hurried to her laptop, logging into her accounts, transferring $5,000 from her bank account to his own. That money had to be his. He had earned it. Then, in a moment of frantic paranoia, he grabbed her phone, smashing it against the wall. No one could track him, no one could find him, not if he could help it. He needed to vanish. He needed to disappear before anyone knew what he had done. With the money in his pocket and the shattered remains of her phone on the floor, Andrei grabbed his bag, rushed out the door, and disappeared into the night, leaving behind the wreckage of their once perfect relationship, and the lifeless body of the woman who had trusted him. Just minutes later, the sounds of gunshots echoed through the building, reaching the ears of a neighbor who had been watching TV. Her heart stopped when she realized what she had just heard. She didn't hesitate. She grabbed her phone, dialing 911 with shaking hands. In a matter of minutes, sirens filled the air, and the police arrived at the apartment. The door was unlocked, slightly ajar, as though Andrei hadn't even bothered to close it behind him. Inside, the scene was nothing short of horrifying. Janelle's body lay sprawled across the couch, blood soaking into the cushions, staining everything she had worked so hard to build. The bright lights of her apartment now illuminated the horror of her final moments. The room looked like a war zone. Bullet casings scattered across the floor, glinting in the light. Glass from the shattered phone and a broken lamp littered the ground. An overturned chair. A sign of struggle. But there was no struggle in the end. Janelle had been taken by surprise. By the man she had trusted. Detectives and forensic officers moved quickly, collecting evidence, trying to piece together the story of what had happened. The bloodstains, the broken furniture, the empty shell casings, they all told a story, but it wasn't enough to catch him. Not yet. The investigators pulled the security footage from the building's cameras, watching as Andrei had moved through the hallways in a hurry, his face tense and full of fear. In one of the hallway cameras, they saw him stop and glance around, his movements erratic. He was panicked, his mind clearly racing. He wasn't calm anymore. He was on the run. Then, the footage from an ATM near the building came through. There he was, standing at the machine, punching in the numbers with a shaky hand. Andrei didn't even try to hide his face. He just took the money and walked away, as though he were any other man in a hurry. The camera caught him for what he was, a man with blood on his hands. The detectives issued a warrant for his arrest immediately. They plastered his face all over the news, their voices full of urgency. "He's armed and dangerous," they warned. "If you see him, call the police. Do not approach him." The manhunt began. The whole city was on edge. A killer was out there, somewhere in the dark, hiding in plain sight. Every shadow seemed to hide a secret, every corner a possible place where Andrei Houston might be lurking. But no one knew where he was. He was gone, vanished, like he never existed. And Janelle? She lay in that apartment, her future stolen, her dreams erased in a moment of rage and greed. Her followers would never hear her voice again. The woman who had built an empire from nothing was now a cold, lifeless memory. But Andrei wasn't done yet. He still had one thing left to do: survive. And he would do whatever it took to stay free. Andrei Houston thought he had escaped. He thought he had outsmarted the law, disappearing into the shadows, leaving behind only chaos. But even the darkest places can't hide you forever. Days turned into weeks, and Andrei, desperate and broke, found himself holed up in a dilapidated motel room in South Carolina. He'd burned through the cash he stole from Janelle, the last remnants of his ill-gotten gains spent on cheap liquor and fleeting moments with women who didn't care who he was, as long as he had cash to throw around. He was a man on the edge, running from everything and everyone. But in that dingy motel room, he wasn't as untouchable as he thought. The SWAT team arrived with precision, storming the room in the dead of night. Andrei had been in the middle of flirting with a woman he'd just met, trying to charm her with the same cocky smile he'd used to win over Janelle. The door exploded open, and the officers flooded the room, guns drawn. Andre's smile faltered for the first time in weeks, but he still tried to play it cool. Hey, hold on, he protested, raising his hands slowly. What's all this about? I didn't do anything. But it was too late. They had him. There was no escaping now. The officer's commands were clear, precise. He was arrested without incident, but Andre wasn't done yet. Even as they cuffed him and led him out of the room, his mind was racing. He still thought he could talk his way out of it. I didn't kill her, he muttered under his breath, a hint of defiance in his voice. I just got carried away. She had it coming, man. She wouldn't listen. I was protecting myself. But those words didn't mean anything to the officers. It didn't matter what he said anymore. Andre Houston was going to pay for what he had done. The trial was a spectacle. For weeks, cameras flashed, reporters scrambled for the latest updates, and the public waited to see if justice would finally be served. Andre, still arrogant, walked into the courtroom like he was walking into a business meeting. His shoulders were squared, his chin held high. He didn't show an ounce of remorse, didn't flinch as the family of Janelle Ellis sat silently in the front rows, their grief palpable in the air. His defense attorney argued that Andre had acted in the heat of passion, that Janelle had provoked him, and in the moment, his emotions overwhelmed him. It wasn't premeditated, the lawyer argued. He didn't plan it. It was a moment of desperation, a cry for help. But the prosecution had a different story. They painted Andre as a man driven by greed, manipulative and calculating. They highlighted the way he had demanded money from Janelle, how he saw her as nothing more than a paycheck. How he grew resentful as her fame and fortune grew, how he watched her thrive while he floundered, his own masculinity and ego bruised beyond repair. And then, when she refused to give him what he thought he deserved, he decided to take everything, her life, her money, her future, all in one violent, cruel act. The evidence was damning. They showed the video footage of Andre at the ATM, withdrawing the money from Janelle's account just after he killed her. They played the 911 call from the neighbor who heard the gunshots, her voice trembling with fear as she described the terror of the night. And they read the text messages from Janelle's phone, showing the moments before her death when she had pleaded with Andre to stop, to understand that she didn't owe him anything. It didn't take long for the jury to deliberate. After a mere 3 hours, they returned with a verdict. The courtroom fell silent as the judge read it aloud, guilty of first-degree murder. Andre's face remained stoic for a moment, but as the words sunk in, something cracked. The anger he'd been holding back bubbled to the surface. His hands clenched into fists, his body tensed. "You don't know her," he shouted, his voice shaking with fury. "She was a liar, a manipulator. She deserved what happened to her." He turned to Janelle's family, his eyes blazing with accusation. "You think she was a saint? She wasn't. She used me, she used me." But his outburst did nothing. It didn't change the facts, didn't bring Janelle back. His screams were drowned out by the gavel's final strike. "Life sentence without the possibility of parole," the judge said coldly. As Andre was escorted out of the courtroom, his head hanging low, he realized that no amount of charm, no amount of arrogance, could get him out of this one. He had destroyed the life of the woman who had trusted him, and now, he would pay the price for it. For Janelle Ellis, it was too late. But for Andre Houston, the real punishment had just begun. The world was divided in the aftermath of Andre Houston's trial. As news of Janelle Ellis's tragic death spread, social media erupted with a mixture of grief, anger, and debates. Fans of Janelle, those who had followed her rise to fame and admired her strength, were in shock. They flooded her pages with heartfelt tributes, sharing memories of the influencer who had inspired them with her success and independence. They couldn't fathom how the man they once saw as her loving partner could turn into her murderer. But as the online community mourned, there were those who tried to justify Andre's actions. Some suggested he had been a victim of toxic masculinity, driven to a breaking point by the pressures of a society that told men they had to be the providers, the strong ones. They argued that he had been emotionally manipulated by Janelle's success, left to feel insignificant while watching his girlfriend's career soar. It was a narrative that some tried to cling to, one that painted him as a man who was broken and lashing out in desperation. Yet, for the majority, Andre's actions were clear. He had taken everything from Janelle, the love she had given him, the trust she had placed in him, and ultimately, her life. His greed had been the driving force behind the tragic end of a woman who had done nothing but work hard to build her own empire. Janelle wasn't just an influencer or a model, she was a woman who had fought against the odds, who had refused to be defined by anyone but herself. And Andre, in his bitterness and resentment, had shattered that in the end, Janelle's legacy wasn't just the career she built or the wealth she accumulated. It was the way she lived her life, a testament to resilience, independence, and defiance against the world that tried to hold her down. But her death would always stain that legacy, turning her into a symbol of what can happen when love, greed, and control collide. As for Andre, his fate was sealed. Locked away in a cell for the rest of his life, he would have to live with the consequences of his actions. The life he had once dreamed of, filled with luxury, control, and power, was now forever out of reach. But for Janelle, there would be no second chances. There would be no future, no more success, no more joy. This case, like so many others, was a stark reminder of how quickly love can turn toxic. How a relationship that begins with passion and affection can spiral into obsession and control, culminating in tragedy. It's a chilling reminder that behind every smile, every charming word, there may be someone hiding dark desires and dangerous entitlement. Could this tragedy have been avoided? Could Janelle have seen the warning signs that her love had turned into something far more sinister? We'll never know for sure. What we do know is that she never had a chance to walk away, because when Andre snapped, he took everything with him, including her life. What do you think? Could this have been prevented? Did Janelle see the warning signs too late? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If this story shocked you, don't forget to like and subscribe for more chilling tales where love, lies, and betrayal leave behind a trail of destruction.